If you'd like to see how I built this TV stand using crate wood and pallet wood, stick around and watch the video. Thanks for stopping in on the Woodshop stop. I started this project out with a little drawing, as you could see. And then I went into cleaning up edges on some of these boards. These are boards that I found not that long ago at my favorite site for pallet wood and crate wood. They were pretty much 50% usable because there was a lot of twist, there was a lot of bowing, and some of them were just so bad I couldn't use them. But I sorted them out and found the best boards and was able to come up with enough to build this project. The remainder, I'm not sure what I'll do with. But anyway, I started using the biscuit joiner on these boards so I could glue them up. This was a lengthy process. This was a lot of gluing. It was basically a number of panels, and each panel consisted of 5 boards. This took me, probably a couple days to do this. I don't like to spend a whole lot of time in the shop, especially after I get a workout in. But you can see it's going together pretty nicely. It's a pretty simple process. Cut the slots, add the biscuits, add the glue, put the boards together. I was kind of amazed that this thing was standing on end with so many boards attached to it. Let's say something for the plumbness of the boards. Didn't use a lot of clamps on these, just a couple cauls and 4 clamps just to hold things together. With a medium pressure, that is. There was quite a bit of squeeze out on these, and I used a type 3 glue, and comes out a bit brown, as you can see here from the squeeze out underneath. So that was no good. I had to clean that up on these white boards. They turned out pretty decent for flatness. I was very surprised. And here's all the glue ups combined. A couple short pieces for the side walls, which I'll cut dados in, and then a top, bottom, and a middle shelf. Let the sanding begin. I scraped earlier with a putty knife and a cabinet scraper, but did quite a bit of sanding. Now we have to size these. I think they're roughly 15 inches is the width of these boards. I decided to put the top piece together with the miter. So I cut the miters on the crosscut sled. Then I cut them to their final length or height. My mask reminds me of COVID. We don't want to see that time again. That's for sure. The crosscut sled works best for this. I don't have a track saw or a sliding miter. A sliding miter would work good for this, but I seem to do okay on the with the crosscut sled. I hear a lot of guys on other channels say that you shouldn't have such a big crosscut sled, but I'm glad I made this the size that it is, because it allows me to put this 15-inch board in and cut the ends off. I imagine I could use a miter gauge, but I definitely would still have to attach a board to it and then clamp onto that. This just makes it for a more comfortable cut, I think. Being able to clamp it to the fence on this crosscut sled is a convenience. I've considered making a larger one, in fact, but I'm not sure if that would serve my purpose too often. If you have a large crosscut sled, leave in the comments. Let me know what you think about it, or the advantages of a medium-sized to large-size crosscut sled. Here I'm laying out the dados. I've got 2 on each panel, these side panels. And I've set up my dado blade to make these cuts. I made a short video of these cuts using this dado blade on the table saw, and I had a subscriber, I think he's a subscriber, comment on about the way I'm backing this piece up through the blade. I agree with him to a point. If I were using a standard blade and making a through cut, there would be something to kick back. But with these side panels and the shallow cut, there's nothing really to kick back at me, because anyway, I've got control of the panel that I'm passing through the blade. Here I'm gluing on these cleats for the top to rest on and for the miter to joint together. I'm using glue and brad nails to attach it. And then I've put pocket holes, as you can see, in the cleat, and this will secure the top. I have to give a shout out to Woodworking with Wes. His channel is where I got the idea for the cleat, but I customized it somewhat differently. I think it's a great idea, but the only problem that I have with the way I'm doing it is the exposure of the cleat from underneath the top of the shelf of the TV stand. I don't have a problem with that because this is just pine, and it's just for utilitarian purposes. It's not a showpiece. So it works for me. Now I'm attaching the bottom, and I got a pretty good fit on my dados. I like using these angle pieces for assembling panels like this. They work out great. It gives you an extra hand if you don't have someone to hold it in position for you. You need something like this. Now I'm assembling the top piece. You can see how these cleats will work. It gives you extra gluing surfaces, and it helps to bring the miter joint together if you've got the cleat with enough clearance, that is. And you just attach your pocket screws from underneath, and you've got a nice secure top. Now for a little bit of sanding. This is probably one of the 3 sanding stages I've done so far. And then we're going to have a final sand for sure with a little bit of hand sanding and blending of the edges and rounding over the edges. This is me cutting up the face frame pieces, going with a, I believe it's 2 1/8 inch wide face frame. So it gives it a finished look on the front side. Not bothering with putting a face frame on the back side, because typically that'll be against the wall. So I'm not concerned about that. And like I said, this is just for usefulness, not showpiece or anything like that. I decided that I wanted to put some dowels in on the shelf piece and the bottom piece to make sure that they are secured really well. So I lined it up and drilled some holes, and now I'm adding the dowels. I'll drive these in to the depth, clean up the glue a little bit, and then cut them off flush. This is so we hope that this thing never comes apart. I used my Japanese saw here for a flush cut saw, and it seems to work pretty good. As long as you do a little bend on it, you know, it doesn't do too bad. One of these days I'll pick up a flush trim saw. Now we'll do a little sanding. Sanding them nice and flush to the surface. And more sanding. As I said before, one of the many stages of sanding on this. I put in a little bit of wood filler in some of the voids and the knot holes and that type of thing. off camera, and that's what you see on the surface there when I'm sanding somewhat. Now I put this centerpiece in, and I'm installing that with a few dowels as well. I lined up the center of the stand and cut this piece to size, and now I'm drilling the holes for the dowels to attach it. And this is the opposite side. I wanted to hide those pocket holes, so I put a few dowels in those, and now I'm cutting those off. This is the only part that I'm not really that satisfied with. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say I'm probably about 50-50 on that. I'm just finishing up this TV stand here, taking out some of the tool marks and cleaning up maybe with a little bit of squeeze out from the gluing process. I glued this face on off camera. I figured the video was long enough, and we didn't need to see how to make a face frame. I've got other videos on my channel that you can check in and see how to make a face frame on some cabinet builds that I've got. But I did this one a little bit different. I didn't make a totally assembled unit and then install it. I did it in individual pieces because I thought that I'd be able to make the lines match up a little bit better. I'm putting just a little bit of a round over on the edges, breaking the edges, as you would say, just so that they're not so sharp and they won't be so apt to splinter, because this is pine. This is white pine, and it's knotty, as you can see, and it's a soft wood. So I think it's best to kind of round over the edges a little bit to smooth them out, and to prevent as much chip out as possible, splintering. It's just about complete. I haven't decided how I'm going to finish it just yet, but I may just leave it as is and put a clear poly on it, or maybe a tung oil finish, and leave the natural wood grain showing and with all the knots and characters. This should conclude this video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit the like button. I would appreciate it. It would help the algorithm. Hit the bell notification if you'd like to see future videos on the woodshop stop. Thanks for watching. Check out another video if you've got time.